Delighted to say, joining me today, unusual on a Monday, but it's getting to be quite usual now because I have to commentator Benedict Spence. Good morning.
Good morning. What am I doing here?
We're all a bit
Why have I
bemused.
been woken up for this?
Why have you been...
Peter
bit harsh.
Peter Mandelson resigned from something he's caught up in a scandal. That's not a news story. Come on, that's a weekday. Like, honestly, really? This is what I'm dragged out of bed for.
I'm working out. It's 7 minutes past 10 o'clock now. Peter Mandelson will maybe have had his espresso, I don't know, his chai latte, whatever he has, his muesli.
From a very nice machine.
Very, very fancy sourdough bread. I don't know, whatever he's on with avocado. I don't know what he has. I can tell you right now that Peter Mandelson has already told 4 lies, because Peter Mandelson tells 4 lies before breakfast every day. It's what he has lied and lied and lied about everything. 1997, this is how old I am. 1997, I was working on London Star and the Evening Standard, which those outside London, the Evening Standard was the paper everyone in London read, and the London Star was basically a page of the gossip about the famous and the rich and the good, great and the good, not the good.
Interesting.
And I remember I was writing, it wasn't my story, but I wrote and edited the very first item, I think in June 1997, about Peter Mandelson, and questioning about, there's that wonderful way that journalists do, papers do when they can't legally say what they want to say, which is, how on earth does an MP, as he was then, on only £45,000 a year, manage to afford a basically 450 grand property in Notting Hill with no, I mean, you couldn't get a loan for that much at that time. You couldn't, that's not an option. How on earth is he afforded it? Well, he lied, and he lied to the editor of the Evening Standard and told him it was about his mum had left him money. Totally untrue. He lied to everybody about it. Turns out it was a loan from another member of the cabinet, Geoffrey Robertson. Both men were forced out. He was forced out again over money and relationships with two billionaire Indian brothers. Yeah. And then forced out of the US ambassador role. I mean, why each time? It's because he's lied.
It is. I mean, when you say he tells 4 lines before breakfast, to be fair, that's because he looks at himself in the mirror and goes, now, come on, Peter, you've done nothing wrong. You can come back from this. Everybody loves you. You've got many people rooting for you. Oh, is that the time? It's time for my espresso. Right there, those are the 4 lies. But it is just, it's comical, isn't it? Because everybody always goes on about how clever Peter Mandelson is. This is why he got the role as our man in Washington. Oh, he'll be excellent in the role. He knows how to get, everybody can wrap them all around their little finger. If only he was so clever to just not keep on getting embroiled in things that lead to the downfall of his career. That said, he is clever enough to fool enough people to keep giving him more jobs. Well, this is the thing. Again, I've posted, everyone keeps saying how clever he is. I mean, Trevor Phillips, the presenter on the Sky yesterday, they've been old friends for years, old Labour Party mates, worked together, in ITV together, they're just old mates. And basically, he's such a clever guy, and his talents are now lost. They're lost to the country. I'll live with that. I mean, I'll live with that. I thought the appointment as US ambassador was a terrible idea in the first place. Everyone did. But again, this all comes back down to, the judgment of the Prime Minister. I mean, literally, you could go through newspaper cuttings and you would know you shouldn't hire this guy. If the security people didn't go, are you kidding me about this guy? This guy couldn't get a job as a postboy, so how on earth could he get a job as a US ambassador? He was already untrustworthy. Some of the Epstein files stuff, again, he can deny it all. I don't know. The Epstein files published claim, he received $75,000 over a couple of years while he was business secretary. His boyfriend, now husband, Ronaldo, received a $10,000 we're told loan. Well, he was earning big money. Why was his boyfriend needing loans? Mandelson apparently knew nothing about. He does not recall. He has no recollection of whether or not his best pal, as he repeatedly called Epstein, gave him £75,000 over a period of months. Just question to everybody. Have you ever, whether it was 20 years ago or last month, has anyone ever given you $75,000, about 50 grand, and you just didn't notice or forgot? And even now you're going, oh, did I get 75? I am going to check my accounts just very quickly, just in case.
Absolutely checking my accounts.
If it's open season for US dodgy financiers to just be throwing it around. I thought it would be a Nigerian prince, but it turns out no. There are other avenues that can get slightly dodgy money for. Who knew?
But it's risible. I mean, he thinks we're fools.
He does, of course he does. But I don't want to say they all do, but this is part of the sort of the culture of people like him, which is genuinely that he believes if he can just double down long enough, he can get away with it. The funny thing, of course, is it's sort of cut from the same sort of cultural cloth cloth, if you like, as Boris Johnson.
Yeah.
But everybody goes in two-footed on Boris Johnson, including many people who it turns out are friends of Peter Mandelson. But all of this is sort of taken as, oh, Peter, what have you done this time? Well, how unfortunate. But just look, lay low for a little bit and you'll be able to come back. Whereas when it's Boris Johnson, it's charlatan, he's this, he's that, he's appalling, he's denigrating democracy and all this. When it's this guy, it's kind of like, oh, well,
I think
what
they're both important, genuinely. And this, I think, I really think it's important. I felt so strongly about the MB's expenses scandal. And by the way, so did the general public about people upholding standards. I don't want to live in Putin's Russia or Berlusconi's Italy.
Oh, I'd love to live there, to be fair.
But like Donald Trump, I mean, I'm sorry, the corrupt. You can love Trump as much as you want. I agree with loads of the policies that he's done. I love what he did in Israel. But I'm sorry, I love what he's doing with ICE and everything. But I'm sorry, the guy is definitely corrupt, and he is definitely basically enriching his family deliberately by being in president. That is morally wrong. It's deeply wrong, and let's face it, it's probably illegal as well. I hope it is illegal. But anyway, let's talk about Prince Andrew. Some of the pictures. I mean, there's this picture of him as a middle-aged man looking sweaty. Interesting, because he can't sweat. Leaning over this girl who's prone on the ground. We don't know, her face is black, we don't know whether she's conscious even or not. Doesn't look like she is, but she definitely looks quite slight. It's just creepy. Quite apart from the pictures of Mandelson and his underpants, it's just creepy. We've got a second woman who claims that she was trafficked by Epstein to him. His introduction was like a beautiful Russian woman to meet for dinner. I mean, clearly it was just, look, there have been rumours about Prince Andrew long before the Jeffrey Epstein stuff came out, and everyone knows. Here's my thing, and there's Fergie's emails, marry me, these rich people asking for favours and money. I don't understand, why do rich people constantly need to ask other rich people to give them money?
I know, it's rather gauche, I would have thought. But it turns out, we've known for some time, of course, that the British aristocracy isn't what it used to be. It isn't quite as wealthy as it used to be.
They want to be richer than they are.
But to be fair, these are not just members of the aristocracy. These were, at the time, literal members of the royal family. If anybody still had a little bit of spare cash or access to it, should have been these people.
Can you help me?
Yeah, exactly.
Here's the thing.
Obviously, we don't know the full context of these photographs, but if it looks like a duck and it walks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's going to make quite a good, confit de canard that evening. So, I think there's a lot to be written into.
I love that you use these phrases. But this is the thing with Andrew. There's been a lot of smell around already. He's already. I mean, this down to King Charles. He has already lost his title of prince, his HRH. He's lost his big fancy house, and he's moved into these lodges things. They're still bigger than any house we could ever dream of owning ourselves. Who we're kidding? Still got servants and God knows what. There's a lot of talk about the Congress issue, and I really feel strongly about this. Should these men be forced to testify before Congress? Because they can't be forced unless they are in the country. We know that the FBI wanted to question Prince Andrew, but if both men are basically saying, look, I knew nothing. I didn't see anything. I mean, Prince Andrew's always said he knew nothing, but we caught him out in 10 lies in his Newsnight interview. Mandelson's been caught out a million times. Mandelson, his defence was, I'm gay. That wouldn't have been a party to that. I'm gay, so I can't spot a 14-year-old girl. I'm pretty sure, I could manage to do that, if I was a gay woman, But I mean, Do you think that we should actually say, look, you know what, unless you are willing to give evidence, we have to assume that there is something you want to hide? The
difficulty I have with all of this is that I don't think British citizens should be compelled if they've not been charged. And I think that the United States is a country that likes to throw its weight around. It can throw its weight around, but we are supposed to be an ally. We're supposed to be a country that has good relations with them, and very often that relationship is very one way. And I'd say this about anybody. I know that it might stick in the craw a little bit because these are high-profile people accused of quite, involvement in quite a nasty sort of ring of individuals. I know people would like to get to the bottom of it. I agree. I'd like us to get to the bottom of it. But as a general principle, I don't think the British government should be saying to people, look, you've not been charged with anything at all, but we are going to effectively force you onto a plane. And of course, that will mean in handcuffs if you try to resist. I'm not okay with that.
And you're right, the Americans would not require it of their own citizens, which is a very fair point. But I mean, Donald Trump and Elon Musk have basically both said, look, the Epstein files absolve them of any particular allegation. I mean, Elon Musk's argument is, look, I was one trying to get these out there. There's a whole load of exchanges. Basically, everyone who said they had nothing to do with this guy after a certain point, we know, like Richard Branson, and they've said, look, basically, they did some due diligence and they wouldn't even accept money from this guy for their charities. It does seem that people went, hold on a minute, there's a whiff around this. I'm going to have nothing to do with this guy. But people kept up polite email exchanges.
Yeah.
Because he was a man who they considered to be probably a danger if they didn't.
Well, this is, I suppose, actually part of the trickiness of all of this, which is that while somebody, especially before they've been convicted of anything, before anything's happened, if there are lots of rumours but they have a lot of influence, do you necessarily want to make an enemy of that person for no good reason? Because you don't know if they're ever going to be convicted of anything or if they're ever going to do anything bad that'll come to light. So it's a trick. A
lot of this, by the way, Epstein had already been convicted of procuring a 14-year-old girl for prostitution.
That's true, but there were some cases of this, obviously, before being the case. Now, when it comes to Elon Musk, I do actually think a lot of this exonerates him, but not because he was a morally upstanding person. I think he was a bit too autistic and busy to understand what was going on. But from what I've read of his emails, I just go, oh, you're an idiot. You really don't understand what's going on here. You think of things in very black and white terms, and you have no ability to read between the nuance at all. When it comes to Trump, it's the omission as much as anything. It's the stuff that's not there that makes me think, I'm not sure this does exonerate you. I think there's a lot more that's not being said.
They moved in the same circles for years.
Even if he clocked him, he was not, actively trying to avoid him, was he? It's not.
I don't think you can avoid people in those. There are plenty of people I try to avoid, and I keep bumping into them. There we are. Hi, Benedict. There's so much more I want to talk about. Lots of stories we're going to cover over the show, but let's talk about Keir Starmer returning from China. I mean, humiliating doesn't do justice to that trip. Even just down to, oh, by the way, we'll let you go to Forbidden City. Yeah, sure, Trump. He got a tour with the President Xi Jinping hosting him while it was cleared out of tourists. You just walked around with some 2-bit tourist guide while all the tourists gawped. I mean, the whole thing, we came away with nothing. Even the so-called business investments was mostly them investing in China, not the other way around. What an absolute joke. And in return for which, and it was very clear, the trip was not going to be on until that Chinese embassy got the go-ahead. We've given away prime London territory to basically a spy hub for our hostile nation. Yeah. Brilliant.
I mean, I thought that the optics of him going to the Forbidden City were quite good, because the Chinese are probably just stood there going, look, this is a thing and it's got walls and it's got a gate, and if you're not allowed in, we don't let you in. You should try that sometime with your own border. As an aside, if I was offered a personal tour around the Forbidden City, I'd take it. It's very spectacular. People probably shouldn't go, but one day maybe you'll get the chance.
I've been told I can't go to China ever. I'm really genuinely gutted that it simply would not be safe. The Summer Palace is better, in case people are thinking about it, but the Forbidden City is pretty good.
Thanks. Nonetheless, it was simply a humiliation ritual, and the Chinese are very keen on that sort of thing. Let's be clear. China is not the Soviet Union. It's not interested in world domination in the same way as the USSR was, or global revolutions towards communism. What it is really keen on is extracting these sort of humiliation rituals from the country it deems to be part of its century of humiliation, of which we are pretty much slap bang at the top. Yeah. They love this. I mean, right down from the fact that a country where the average height is about 5'6" men managed to find every 6'4" soldier across the country to line up for when Starmer was there, so he looked tiny. Don't tell me that they were not loving the optics of all of this. And as you say, he's come away with what? A couple of 30-day visas for people who are allowed to go to China. Yeah. And
the MPs who were sanctioned, they're now allowed to go. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that Tom Tugendhat and Ian Smith won't be going to China anytime soon.
And that's so, of course, that a reciprocal visit is made a little bit smoother, because obviously he can't go if there are MPs not allowed into the bill. So it was all just a bit of a nothing burger, but it's one of those things where, Starmer, he doesn't like being in this country. He likes the international stage. He likes the prestige that he feels.
Yeah, well, he's come back to more trouble at home, hasn't he, with Gorton by-election and all of that. We'll talk about that later in the show. But let's talk about the Grammy Awards, talking of a nothing burger. I hate all these awards ceremonies, utterly. And as usual, they had absolute nonsense. Just absolute nonsense from the usual suspects. We've got a little bit of a clip of Billie Eilish. She accepted an award for the best song, and here's what she had to say.
No one is illegal on stolen land. And I feel like we just need to keep fighting and speaking up and protesting, and our voices really do matter, and the people matter, and I say sorry.
We had to be like that. She said the F word about ICE, the people who are going around arresting and deporting people who've entered the country illegal and then committed crimes. Yeah, you're so stunning and brave, Billy. First of all, where's Ricky Gervais when you need him? Because he used to do, of course, the Golden Globes?
Golden Globes.
And it was so funny every time. And he just totally took them apart. Shut up, come up, get your award, sit down, you don't know anything, you use it. They really don't know anything. And as I pointed out on social media this morning, genuinely, these people know, stolen land because the Native Americans lived there first. Literally, someone lived everywhere first. Move on. This is sixth form politics. But also, if it is stolen land, well, you own a couple of lovely properties. I think she's got a property, I think in LA, she's got property, you know, on the beachfront, 4.5 million or
These
something.
places one hears of, Malibu and stuff like that. That sounds exciting.
I'm thinking, well, I mean, if it's stolen land, I mean, you just give it to anyone who wants it. All these people, they've got security around their own homes. You know, they absolutely love a bit of security around the concerts when they're selling tickets at high prices, don't they? So, but if it's all stolen land, surely anyone can just walk in. And people say, like, oh, that's a silly comparison. But so is the idea that that you should be cheered on by a load of, sort of clapping seals like this. That when you say, you know, basically, no one's illegal and anyone can be here, you're basically saying, this is America. There should be no borders whatsoever. Anyone can live anywhere they sodding well want to. OK, but that's crazy. And it's being cheered on by a bunch of rich people in posh dresses.
I mean, listen, if you are somebody who purchases their music, or if they're actors, their films and that sort of thing, because they're good in those contexts, that's absolutely fine. But you're under absolutely no obligation to listen to what they have to say about anything else. Hugh Bonneville, the guy who was in, what was it, Downton Abbey and a couple of other things, he was getting quite irate at the weekend as well, saying, I don't feel that I should have to stay in my lane if I think that I should be able to speak out about these things. To which my response is actually, yes, you're allowed to speak out about these things, but I'm allowed to judge you pretty harshly based on what it is you say. And that's always the case with these people. They have huge platforms and they spew utter nonsense. And people sort of lap it up and they listen to it. And it doesn't matter that enough people might go, well, this is nonsense, you clearly don't know what you're talking about. Because enough people also will go, oh, yeah, that sounds about right. Oh, this person's got influence and they're a great musician, therefore they must have half a brain cell. And you can think, but also, well, the half brain cell is only focusing on making music.
Yeah, but also I'm so moral. And of course, I would not be referring to anyone particular that has been in a part of this conversation. But the sort of celebrities who have, for instance, super injunctions that not only mean that media can't write about them, but they can't even write about or talk about the fact there is a super injunction. I mean, wouldn't it be interesting if someone like that spoke out on television about wrongdoing? Wouldn't that be terrible and incredibly hypocritical? But of course, I'm not referring to anyone individually or specifically at all, because I wouldn't be legally allowed to do that. But what if someone did? What if someone did take out a super injunction? And then they did that. Wouldn't that be something to laugh at? Yeah. Anyway, completely coincidental conversation that. But there we are. You know, my mind just moves from things to things.